Do you know the Press Freedom Index, published by RSF in 2023, indicates that, with the exception of Cambodia and Vietnam, the majority of Southeast Asian nations, including Timor Leste, have improved in ranking. Does this align with the current safety landscape for journalists in Southeast Asia? From January to May 2023, 6 out of 7 organizations that are members of the regional coalitions monitored cases of violence against journalists in Cambodia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Timor-Leste, and the Philippines. Let's find out the result. Despite the fact that the Press Freedom Index by RSF this year appears optimistic, the violence against journalists remains a cause of concern. Between January and May 2023, Southeast Asia has experienced a total of 73 incidents of violence directed towards journalists. The majority of these cases, about 60%, involved physical violence, while 23% were categorized as digital violence and 70% as legal violence. From the incident reported, about 6.8% related to the gender and identity-based violence. Ironically, about 36.5% of the case were caused by a state actor, such as a police officer, military officer, government, public institution, as a perpetrator. While the state should ensure the protection of press freedom, it becomes part of undermining the democratic ethos. Let's take a closer look at some of the countries in Southeast Asia and the challenges they face. In Cambodia, the media landscape has remained critical since Prime Minister Hun Sen's decision to shut down Voice of Democracy (VOD) in February 2023, which is the only independent local media in the country. The government is also drafting a new law that will restrict the freedom of the internet, putting online journalists at risk of arrest and prosecution. This law can give the government the power to control any online news content. In Indonesia, the media community is facing the threat of legal regulation that could undermine press freedom and freedom of expression, such as the Electronic Information and Transaction Law, the Criminal Code Law, and the Omnibus Law that could be used to criminalize journalists and media outlets for their coverage. Not to mention the risk of intimidation and harassment that journalists face on a daily basis. In the Philippines, the practice of red tagging is endangering the lives and safety of journalists and media workers. Red tagging is when individuals or groups are labeled as terrorists or communists for criticizing the government or expressing dissenting views. For decades, this label could be used as a justification for killing, torturing, or arresting journalists. Not to mention the website blocking, censorship of social media platforms, and the repressive law to silence journalists and limit their digital rights. However, behind these statistics and reports, there are individual stories of courage, resilience, and dedication. In the next second, we will hear about the obstacles they encounter, the threats they receive, and the hope they have for the future of journalism.
So for me, specific for the country that used the law to criminalize the journalists, as a Timor-Leste journalist, we want the country to give a freedom to the journalists to do their work.
I have been touted as the most red-tagged journalist here in Mindanao. Whenever there are stories, especially when it comes to covering marginalized sectors, the indigenous peoples, and human rights defenders getting killed, and wrote a story about it. when the story was published in the morning, by afternoon, there were red taggings already, red tagging posts. One of them said that, Concorales is covering this story because he is the propaganda arm of the communist movement.
The challenges that I becoming a journalist, we always face the judgment from the society. There is a norm that people always think about the journalist or reporter that they are bad. They always report about the bad side of the government, something like that. I hope that in Cambodia we will have a safe space for journalists in any form of the digital freedom or physical space regarding to the female reporter, no hate speech, no online harassment.
In September 2022, 38 narration journalists and ex-workers were hacked. The perpetrator tried to breach Telegram, WhatsApp, Instagram, and Facebook accounts. I was one of them. The hacker tried to enter my Facebook account. Inevitably, this also has impacted our psychosocial safety regarding our families. I had to put myself out of the family WhatsApp group to avoid anxiousness for our family members. The digital security system in Indonesia is in an emergency state. I need a secure and trusted system to manage my personal data. And as a citizen, I have my rights to speak freely and criticize any issue related to the public interest.
As a journalist based in West Papua, I have experienced digital attacks many times, such as email, WhatsApp, Twitter, Facebook, and cell phone hacking. I also experienced terror and physical threats several times. For example, in 2013, my wife and I were held at gunpoint by members of the Indonesian military at the Indonesian and Papua New Guinea border when I was returning from covering the Melanesian Spearhead Group Summit, which discussed the issue of West Papua in New Caledonia.
How can the regional coalition work together to overcome these challenges?
We need to continue to promote digital freedom without terror, intimidation, and bullying for journalists from any institution and groups.
We hope the freedom on internet and also the digital right of the people will be improved and also maintained.
We need more solidarity through calling out these practices, pushing for legal reforms, and by amplifying each other's stories, statements, and issues.
We are very proud to be part of the media collaboration project for the Southeast Asian region, and we hope this program will achieve two main objectives. First, to monitor threats and violence against our friends and colleagues in Southeast Asia, regardless of their platforms or ideologies. Second, to build a mechanism to ensure that the media in our region can work safely and freely.
These everyday challenges on press freedom are often ignored or covered up by the authorities and the mainstream media. That's why we are a coalition of 6 out of 7 organizations across Southeast Asia who are committed to defending and promoting press freedom in our region. With humble excitement, would like to use this opportunity to launch the alert monitoring platform named pfmc.org. This platform monitors and documents incidents of media repression and violations that collects and analyzes the real-time data from reliable sources and present it in an accessible and interactive way. It will provide information that can be used for media advocacy nationally and internationally.
This platform is an effort to provide more real-time information on the obstacle to press freedom in Southeast Asia. We hope that the availability of real-time data can be referenced for making responses, providing support, advocacy, and strengthening collaboration. We hope this platform will be useful for the press community, researchers, civil society organizations, and anyone who focuses on issues of democracy, human rights, and media freedom in Southeast Asia.
Please visit us in the following barcodes and spread the words.